StraighTAllDay.com.
Now tuned in. You are now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques, all underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that's called Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is, I'm going to give you some simple business strategies and hacks that you can be using in your business right now. Before we get into that though, remind everybody, I send out a text message every day called the Daily Motivation, guaranteed to have you focused, sharp, and on point to start your day. You want to receive that message. So text me right now. My number 305-384-6894. Every day when that daily motivation comes out, you'll be getting it straight to your phone free of charge. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That is the only place where I offer coaching, only place you can be mentored by me, only place where you can ask me questions on a regular basis, only place you can join my coaching programs, my mastermind group programs, especially for you entrepreneurs out there who want to be around other like-minded people. I hear that from entrepreneurs like every day. Dre, I need to be around better, more like-minded individuals. Well, what are you waiting for? Literally, I'm asking the question, what are you waiting for? Join Work on Your Game University, and I will put you in a mastermind with other like-minded individuals. I'm giving you the invitation right here. So the way you get into the university is going to workonyourgameuniversity.com. So with that said, let's get into the topic. We are talking simple business strategies and hacks. Now, let's be clear. These are some things that you can use every day in your business, whether you are a full-time entrepreneur or you're a entrepreneur. Let's say you got a bunch of people in your business has been running for 20 years. Maybe some of the things I'll say here today you're already doing, maybe not. If you're a solopreneur, you're the main person in your business or the only person in your business, or you're somebody who's just getting started, you don't even want to call yourself an anythingpreneur because you don't really have a lot of action going on right now, but you plan on having action going. Or maybe you're a think about it-preneur, and what's a think about it-preneur? That's a person who's been thinking about starting a business, but you haven't actually done it yet, but you will. All right, you're thinking about it, but at some point, that potential energy is going to turn kinetic, and you're going to actually do something. All right, all of you can use what I'm going to share here today. Now, I want to be clear that what I'm going to share here is not an all-inclusive list. What I'm sharing here is not everything that you could possibly do in your business. I mean, there's entire books, entire libraries of books written on things that you can do when running your business. These are just a few things that came to mind that I think any entrepreneur could use, and I will include my explanations as to why each of these is useful and pithy important for all of you moving forward in your business. And some of these, maybe you haven't thought about it this way, but I'll explain why I think about it the way that I do, so then you'll understand why to use it. Let's get into it. Point number one. Today's topic, once again, is simple business strategies and hacks. Number one, buy with credit cards. Use your credit cards to buy things, if you have credit cards. And if you don't have any credit cards, then obviously you can't use this. But if you do have credit cards, I would suggest that you use your credit cards to make your purchases. And actually, I would apply this not only in business, for your business, I would apply this on a personal level as well. So I'll tell you all, any of you just want to know me, something that I do finance-wise, whether for my business or for myself personally, I make all my purchases with credit cards. All of my purchases, like every dollar that I've spent in 2023? Every dollar I spent this year, I used a credit card for every single thing that I bought so far this year. And I spent a good amount of money so far in 2023. Why buy with credit cards? Why am I suggesting that you do this? Because some of you have been taught not to use your credit cards and buy stuff. Why would you buy with credit cards? All it does is run up your credit. It hurts your credit score. Then you got to owe. Then you got to pay interest. Then it costs more money. Why does that make any sense, Trey? Tell me how that makes any sense. Just buy with credit cards. And some of you out there, I don't know. Some of you might work in finance, and you may be thinking what I'm saying here is completely sacrilegious. I'm going to explain to you why I'm saying what I'm saying. All right. One reason, especially in business. This is especially true in business, but also as consumers. Any of you you're an online shopper. Any of you who's online shoppers, you buy things on the internet, anywhere, Amazon, you buy clothes, anywhere that you do e-commerce as a consumer, I'm saying. And also those of you who are in your businesses, you have expenses for your business. It is much easier to handle disputes and fraud charges when you made a purchase with a credit card than when you made a purchase with a bank, in my experience. Now, if any of you has a different experience, You let me know what your experience was. My experience is that anytime I've had a fraudulent charge or a disputed charge, that means the charge went through that I did not authorize, or I don't know where it came from, or it was too much, or something was wrong, and I needed to challenge the charge, and I had to call my financial institution and say, hey, this charge is no good, get rid of it. If I had to do that through a bank, it is much harder to get what I want than it is when I go through a credit card. Credit cards are much more protective of their customers than banks are, in my experience. Again, any of you have a different experience, let me know. My experience, banks are terrible when it comes to unrecognized charges, and the money that you have, let's say somebody charges $300 on your bank account, or like an ACH transfer or your debit card, your bank debit card, a $300 charge that you don't recognize, and you're challenging the charge, and you're like, where the hell did this come from? I didn't charge it. I didn't authorize this. I want my $300 back. It is much harder to get that back because that is like cash, pretty much. But with your credit card, it's different, and credit is a lot easier to get some recovery and some help from your institution, depending on which institution you're working with. And I will give you some examples and tell you who I think is the best. Now, I haven't used every single credit card that is out there, but I would say number one when it comes to defending customers is American Express. They're number one. They are the best at defending their customers when it comes to any kind of charge that is an unrecognized charge. Now, it depends. I will also say this, when it comes to credit cards, and American Express is just as every credit card company does, they have different levels of cards. There's levels to this shit, all right? There are different credit cards out there, and I know, I'm not even gonna guess, I know for a fact, the higher level card you have, and I'm gonna tell you how you know what level card you have, the higher level card you have, the more likely Amex is going to defend you when you have a fraudulent charge. So if you have a black card, some of you may have heard rappers talk about that. There's an actual word for the black card, but I forget what it's called. I don't have one. I will eventually get one. I don't have one right now, but if you have the black card at Amex, if you have like their highest level card, like any charge you say doesn't go, is not right, they'll get rid of it immediately. And then there are other cards. So the thing is, the different cards that American Express has, and different credit card companies, they all have these. Some cards have an annual fee. The way you know what level card you have in any credit card company is look at how much the annual fee is for the card. That is, in other words, how much you pay every year for the privilege of having that credit card. The higher the fee, the higher the level of the card, the more likely, if you have a disputed charge or a charge that you claim is fraudulent, the more likely things will go in your favor. That's in my experience, both as a salesperson and as a consumer, if you get what I'm saying. Now, if you have a card that has no annual fee, you have a credit card, there's no annual fee for having a card, they will still defend you. Amex as well, American Express, I'm gonna say Amex, it's American Express. They will as well, but it might be a little bit harder. It might be a little bit harder. But when you have cards that have fees, and I have some cards that have annual fees, like every year I get a charge on my card, I'll look at my credit card account, I'm like, wait a minute, I didn't charge anything, where'd I get this $495 fee? Oh, that's the annual fee. And now my annual fee just came up. I got to pay that. That's the annual fee. Those cards that have annual fees, anything goes wrong with a charge on that card, they will probably handle it in your favor. Why? Because you're paying them. You're paying them exactly to do exactly that. So credit cards are much better at handling disputes if you happen to run into a situation like this. Also, any of you who's a user of any credit card, because they all have this as well, and they're all copying American Express, is the cashback / points situation, which is, in long story short, every time you make a purchase with a credit card, most credit cards offer some type of incentive program. The more money you spend using the credit card, you get some points that you can then use basically like cash to buy things. You can get literally cash back. You can use it just to charge against. So let's say I spent $1,000 on my credit card, that might be worth $20 worth of points. And those $20 worth of points, I can just put towards my balance. So instead of owing $1,000 for my charges, I only owe $980, for example. That's just a rough example, but this is what credit cards do. They offer you some type of cashback incentive to use the card. Why they do this is because they understand in the long run, because I'm gonna tell you in a second how to avoid the interest stuff. It's a very simple concept. Those of you in finance, you know this very well. But credit cards are playing a long game. They understand that they give 1 million people a credit card. Not all 1 million of those people are going to pay off that bill every single month. They're not going to pay their full balance every month, which means credit cards get to accumulate interest, which is where they make all their money. Credit cards make their money from interest. Interest is simply when, if I spend $500 on my credit card, on my American Express card, and I don't pay the whole bill, let's say I only pay $250 of the bill, at the end of my billing cycle, now I have a $250 balance on that card. I pay interest of a certain percentage of that $250. So I owe them $250. I still got to pay that. But the interest might be, let's just say, I'm just making up this number. Let's say the interest is $15 on the $250 that I did not pay on my bill. That $15 that I didn't pay, that $15 interest, that's American Express's profit, because they paid the $250. So they didn't really make profit on that. They made profit on the interest. And they understand they get enough people on these cards. Many of them are not going to pay their bills off every single month, and then they charge interest, and that's how they make their money. They make all their profit off that, and these companies make a ton of money on interest. So any of you's read anything about finance, or any of you works in finance, or any of you been taught anything about finance, you know that interest can literally drain the hell out of somebody's bank account. So here's the point. Buy with credit, but then pay your bills with cash. So that's what you do. So if you spend $1,000 on your credit card, pay the bill before the end of the billing cycle, or at least by the due date, so that you do not accrue interest, because interest is extra. So if you spend $1,000 on a card, but you're not paying a whole $1,000 off, you may end up spending $1,200 to pay off that $1,000. So you basically lost $200. Everybody get what I'm saying here? So really, we're just talking about giving y'all this is a very, very rough finance lesson here. There are people who talk about this way deeper levels than I do, but I'm giving you some basics here. If you're going to use credit cards, make sure you're paying the bills off. All right, everybody got it? So I'm giving all this advice using credit cards with the caveat. There's a heavy caveat to this advice that I'm giving you. The caveat is that you should not run up a bunch of credit balance. Balance just means how much credit you've used. So if I have a credit card with $5,000 of available credit and I spend $4,000, that means I have a $4,000 balance on my credit card. So I just want to make sure I'm clear on the language. Do not run up big balances on your credit cards if you don't have a strategy for paying back that money, because then you'll end up spending a lot more than you actually spent, because the interest accrues, you'll spend more money. And if you look at your credit card statements, you'll notice that they actually tell you this, that if you only, and they've been doing this forever, even since I was like 18 and got my first credit card, it'll say, if you only pay the minimum based on your current balance, if you only pay the minimum every month, it will take you this long to pay this off, and you'll end up spending this much, as opposed to if you pay it off now, you'll spend this much. And it can be a very small amount of money. So it could be something like, let's say you had $1,000 on your credit card. They will say, based on your APR, which is an annual percentage rate, that's basically your interest. Based on your APR, and I'm making up these numbers, by the way. Let's say you have an APR of, and I'm not even gonna give you a number here, so, but some of you can do this financial work. There's probably apps on the internet that will do this for you. They'll say something like, all right, your minimum payment due, your balance is $1,000, your minimum payment due is $88, right? So they'll say, if you only pay the minimum at $88, and you do that every month, whatever the minimum is, you only pay the minimum, instead of, you will, it won't say instead, it said it will take you 4 years, 48 payments to pay off this whole $1,000. And instead of paying $1,000, what you're actually going to pay is $1,972. So $1,000 balance, but you end up paying damn near double that, because you're only paying the minimum every month, because every month more interest accrues. And they tell you that right there on the billing statement. So any of you don't read your billing statements, you can see this. Go look at your last billing statement from whatever credit card you have, and you'll see it right there. Every single company does it. They all put it in the statement. I think they legally have to do it. I don't think they always wanted to do it, because it'd be better if they didn't tell you that. But I think they are legally required to do it, because I see no reason why they would do it. They're not trying to help you. They want you to get interest so they can just keep collecting money off you. But then they'll say, or you could just pay the whole thing and you won't owe any interest. So the caveat to this is a very, very heavy caveat. I want to make sure everybody hears me here. Do not take this out of context. Don't run up a whole bunch of credit balance if you don't know how you're going to pay it back. So if you have $10,000 in available credit, this could even be split amongst multiple cards. You could have 10 cards with $1,000 each. If you got $10,000 of available credit, but you only have $5,000 in cash, if you spend more than $5,000 on your credit cards, you need a plan for paying back the amount that you will owe, because you ain't got the cash. You only got $5,000 in cash. So if you spend $6,000 on your credit cards, you're $1,000 short cash-wise. At least theoretically, maybe you'll make more money tomorrow. But you need a plan for paying back what you owe, because that interest will accumulate and you'll spend a lot more than that $1,000 is left over. You get what I'm saying? And this is not necessarily a bad thing, but you just have to have a plan for it. All right, so don't be reckless with this. I'm not saying that every month, I'm not saying that if you can't pay down every credit card you have down to zero every month that you should never use credit. That's not the case, because there are times that I will carry a balance on a credit card and I'll pay the interest because it makes sense for me to do it, because there's a plan for me to pay it back. But if you don't have a plan, then you could get in some very deep financial water very quickly and end up spending way more money than you planned on it, simply because you didn't have an idea what you were doing. All right, so with all that said about credit cards, we're still on point number 1. Do not give out your direct bank account or debit card number if you can help it. This is my suggestion. Again, not everybody does it this way. Like, I know people who use their just regular bank accounts for doing stuff and they don't use credit that much, if at all. I personally like to use credit. I like to, accumulate the points. I like to keep my bank accounts away from any prying eyes. I don't think I just not like to have my bank account number out at all, or my debit card number out at all. I'll give you an example. I had an issue with Facebook. My Facebook account being hacked. Actually, my Facebook account being hacked was connected to my ads account. That's where I run my advertisements through, and I spend a lot of money on ads. I spend thousands of dollars a month on ads. So when my account got hacked, there was a bunch of fraudulent charges through my ads account on my cards through Facebook. And I had multiple credit cards connected to my Facebook account. So we're talking upwards of $10,000 in fraudulent charges on my credit cards through Facebook. But because, each of these payments were made with credit cards, because the only cards that I had on my Facebook account were all credit cards. All I had to do was reach out to the credit card companies. None of those charges stuck, and I was able to get all those charges undone, or I'm in the process of undoing some of them still. Now, had that been a bank card and been actual cash from the bank, it would have been a lot more tedious of a process to get that fixed. So that's one example as to why I would rather use credit cards than debit cards. And there are many other examples, and I'm also offering another caveat. There are other people out there who actually do use their bank and they don't use credit the same way that I'm describing here. I'm not saying that they're wrong. I'm saying this is just the way that I like to do it, but there are other people who might do it other ways, so you should get all the information, even from others who look at it differently, and make the decision that makes the most sense for you. Now, again, you can only do any of this if you actually have credit. So any of you don't have any credit cards, none of that will be useful for you. Moving on to point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is some simple business strategies and hacks. Number 2, when you are dealing with any kind of customer service person, customer service agents, especially the ones who are unhelpful. When you run into an unhelpful one, I'm not going to tell you how to win friends and influence people, how to talk them down, how to get them to calm down and help you out. Here's what you do. Don't even do any of that. Just hang up and call back. Just hang up and call back, especially when you're talking to a big company. Now, if you're talking to some small mom and pop shop and there's like 3 people who work there, now you got to win friends and influence people, because there's going to be the same person on the phone. But if you're talking to some big company, you call Walmart.com, or you call Amazon, or you call Target, and there's some unhelpful customer service person who seems to just not want to help you out. Okay, that person, hang up on them and call back. That's all you got to do. This is a simple hack that a lot of people seem to not understand, so then they end up going back and forth and arguing with the customer service people. Don't argue with them. You saw Scarface. What did that woman say to Tony Montana? I forget what she said to him, but I'm going to paraphrase her. I said, don't argue with the help. All right, they're to help. The customer service agents are to help. And that's not a knock on any of you who works in customer service. All right, I think I probably had some job that could be considered customer service at some point in my life, but I was the help. When I was working there, I was the help. All right, don't argue with the help. All right, so what happens is you go back and forth, argue with them, and they are more bent on not giving service than actually giving service, even though it's customer service. You ever been on the phone with a customer service person and ever thought to yourself, wait, this is the service department? All right, this is service? Is that what you call yourself doing right now? All right, sometimes you're going to run into these folks. All right, it happens. All right, next time this happens, just hang up on the jerk, call right back, and usually you get someone who's more helpful than the last person, and then you'll get your problem solved. That's it. So I remember I was talking to Budget Rent a Car. I had rented a car. Took it back to brought it back with a full tank of gas, because they always ask you when you're renting a car, are you gonna fill up the gas tank are you gonna bring it back with a full gas tank, or do you want us to charge you for the gas now, and then you don't have to worry about filling up the gas tank? I always fill up the gas tank, because almost every time I rent a car, I'm renting a car at the airport. And any of you who goes to airports often, you notice that there's usually gas stations somewhere in the vicinity of the airport, because they understand that a lot of people rent cars when they go to the airport. So I filled up the gas tank as usual, brought the car back. It was like $40 worth of gas. Filled up the gas tank, brought the car back, and then like 3 days later, I get the receipt from them, and they say, "Hey, here's your final receipt from Budget Rent a Car," and it was way more than it was supposed to be. The charge was supposed to be like $215, but the charge was like $400. And I'm like, "How are y'all charging me $400?" I'm said that to myself. I'm reading the receipt, and it shows that they had charged me $98 for filling up the gas tank. Because when you allow them to fill up the gas tank, by the way, there's another idea y'all got to keep in mind, not an idea, but a note. They charge like $9 a gallon or something like that when no gas costs that much. I know gas is high right now, but it ain't $9 a gallon. And if it does go up to $9 a gallon, then the rental car companies will start charging $20 a gallon. So whatever it is, normal gas, they always charge a lot more than that. So you should just take the extra 10 minutes and fill up your own gas tank. So anyway, I'm like, how they charging me this? So I call Budget Rent a Car's 1-800 number. They're a big company, so I know they got a lot of people. I get this woman on the phone. I tell her the situation. She says, "Can you send me a screenshot of the receipt for the gas that you bought?" I sent her a screenshot of the receipt for the gas that I bought. And I also said to her, "Hey, when you bring the car back," I explained this to her, "when you bring a car back to a rental car place, the first thing the worker does when you pull the car up is they get in the driver's seat, they look at the odometer, and they look at the gas thing. They see how much gas is in it. They immediately note that." So I said, not only can I send you a receipt of the gas that I bought, I can also show you, you can also see rather, that it was marked, it was noted when I bought the car back that it was a full tank of gas. All right, so what are you talking about? So not what are you talking about, but why are you even asking me this? Because you can see there was a full tank of gas noted by the employee that you work with, your colleague. And she said, "All right, yes, sir, you send that in." And I was like, "All right, well, where's my refund?" So I sent it to her. I sent her the email. She said, "Well, it takes 48 to 72 hours for it to work." And I'm like, "Why would it take 48 to 72 hours? You asked me for the receipt. I sent it to you. You have a note there that shows it had a full tank of gas. Why would it take 48 hours?" And she basically started stonewalling. Didn't really want to talk. So I protested her calling this 48-hour thing. And she started stonewalling. I didn't get upset. I didn't argue with her. I just hung the phone up. I called right back, exact same number. Different person picked the phone up. I told them the same situation. I didn't even need to send this person the screenshot of the gas. Maybe I did. I can't remember. But even if I did, might have sent them a screenshot of the gas that I had already bought. They looked, and I said to them also the same thing I said to the first woman. "Hey, doesn't the person who worked there note that I brought the car back with a full tank of gas?" He said, "Yes, sir, they did. I do see that. I apologize for the confusion. I apologize for our mistake. Hey, let me go take care of that." And then he said, "All right, if you check your inbox, sir, you'll see that you have an email with a new receipt that reflects the difference, and you'll be receiving your refund back to your card on file for the amount that was overcharged." This literally took 90 seconds. No need to argue. So next time you get a jerk customer service person on the phone, stop talking to them and just talk to somebody different. You'll usually get what you need. Number 3, today's topic, once again, simple business hacks and tips. Number 3, track your expenses. Now, this was not really that much of a hack. So the finance people who are listening to this, if you didn't like my first point about using credit cards, I know some of you might not like that one. All right, you'll like this one. Track your expenses. All right, all of you need to be tracking your expenses, whether you own a business or not. All right, even if you're broke, you need to be tracking your expenses. All right, if you're broke, it should be easy to track your expenses because you might not have that many. All right, this is not really a hack. All right, this is something that you should be doing. This is like a life tip. So I call this a hack, but it's not really a hack. And also because I know there are many entrepreneurs who do not do this, and many entrepreneurs who are lazy at this when it comes to tracking your expenses. Hold on 1 second. I gotta note something really quick. Okay. I call this a hack because many entrepreneurs don't do it. All human beings, track your expenses. You should track every dollar that goes out, as well as every dollar that comes in. Every dollar that goes out and every dollar that comes in, personally and business-wise, you need to track. Even if you're only paying $1 at to park your car for 15 minutes on a parking app because you're going into Starbucks real quick and you're parking you get paid for 15 minutes and it costs you $1, track that dollar. All right, track that $1 as an expense. If you made $1, all right, you posted in a YouTube video and you got $1 in ad revenue, you need to track that dollar, whatever it happens to be. All right, track that as an expense. Remember what we talked about in the previous episode about it being about the money? Remember that episode? The more you focus on the money, the more money you'll make. Focusing on the money means focusing on the money. Focusing on the money doesn't just mean focusing on How can I make a million, billion, trillion dollars? It means focusing on money, period. That means every aspect of money, even the stuff that may be tedious or uncomfortable for you. You need to focus on those things when it comes to the money. That means every dollar that goes out, you need to know where it is and account for it. Every dollar that comes in, you should know what it is and account for it. So you should be able to look back 6 months ago and say, how much money did I spend this month? How much money did I make this month? You should know. You should be able to look at that and see where your money is going. All right, this is you just getting a clear picture of where you are and what you're doing money-wise. If you want to bring in more finances, you got to focus on the finances. Focusing on the money means focusing on the money. So track every single dollar and even track every single penny down to the cent. You need to track this stuff. So if you have a Google account, and if you don't know what a Google account is, if you have a Gmail account, you have a Google account. As soon as you create a Gmail account, you get a Google account. So go to Google Sheets. Google Sheets is like spreadsheets, but the Google version. And go to the templates. Inside the Google Sheets templates, there is a income and expense template inside of Google Sheets. This is completely free. Click on that template and you can start tracking your income and expenses every single month using that Google Sheets. You can use this for your personal stuff. You can use it for your business stuff. You can create multiple sheets, one for personal, one for business. You can put them all together. Whatever you do, you just need to be tracking the money. Now you need to be paying attention to the money. So there's a template there, again, for tracking your spending. Very easy to use, completely for free. There are also software apps that you can buy. Any of you who runs a business, there are apps like QuickBooks and others that allow you to track your expenses. There are plenty of, a whole bunch of softwares for that kind of stuff if you want to do that. And yes, you can have an accountant, you can have a bookkeeper, those people who track your money too, but I would suggest, even if you have an accountant, even if you have a financial advisor, even if you have a bookkeeper, you still need to be looking at every single dollar that comes in and goes out. You should know everything that's happening in your life or business financially, even if you have someone else whose job it is to know what's happening. It is your job to know what's happening and to look over their shoulder. All right, that is, again, my perspective, my suggestion. So track your money for your personal life and your business life, not just one, not just the other. Remember the principle, folks. Anything you want to create more of in life, you got to pay more attention to it. Not just the parts that are convenient and fun, all of it. Everybody got it? Good. Let's recap today's class, which is simple business strategies and hacks. You can use these in your everyday business, no matter what level your business is at. Number one, use your credit cards. It's much easier to defend yourself and to protect yourself financially from any type of possible frauds or any possible disputes when you use a credit card. In my experience, other people may have other experiences, and you can also accumulate points. You can also get cash back. And also, as you use credit cards, you can build your credit. So this is a way that you can build up your credit. So any of you who plans on doing something like buying a house, or you want to get a car loan, or anything else you could use credit for, you can use credit cards to build up your credit. You could also use the house or the car loan to build up your credit to get the credit cards. Or if you're not in a position to get that house yet because of your credit, or you're not in a position to get the car because of your credit, or you're not in a position to get a good deal, you can use credit cards to start building up your credit. But again, do not use more credit than you can actually keep up with the bills, or more that is going to cost you so much in interest that is not even worth it. Number two, when you're talking to a customer service agent, you get an unhelpful one, just hang up and call back. You'll get a better person on the phone next time. And number three, track your expenses. All right, every dollar that goes out, every dollar that comes in. Remember, if it's about the money, then it's about the money. Whatever you want to create more of a life, you got to focus on. You want to make more money, focus on money. That's it, simple as that. All that said, text me, let me know the best idea, insight you got from today's class. My number is 305-384-6894, and workonyourgameuniversity.com. That's where you get to work with me directly, get coached by me, take the next steps in your Work on Your Game journey, and get the 2 physical mailings I send out every single month, the Black Book and the Bulletproof Bulletin. That's workonyourgameuniversity.com. Work on your game. Dre all